Hello and welcome to KOFISI Connect podcast, your source for a wealth of roundtable discussions on the workplace and business, as well as cultural news and trends from a diverse and dynamic continent of Africa. Today we'll be discussing wellness with a focus on health, fitness, and nutrition. I'm your host, Sam Imende, and today I'm very pleased to introduce my guest. I have Arnold Mose, who's an active lifestyle evangelist who founded MoFit as a lifestyle fitness brand. I also have Jaini Shah, who's a food relationship coach and rapid transformational therapist with a mission to help people rewrite their health story. And then lastly, I have Wahu, who's head of partnerships and acquisitions for Bion8, which is a cool company that provides a range of digital healthcare services through a more accessible and inclusive business model. So welcome to KOFISI Connect. My name is Sam again, and I have the exciting opportunity as head of innovation to oversee the development of our wellness program here at KOFISI. And for KOFISI, we actually define wellness in 5 different dimensions. We have physical wellness, which deals with your body and nutrition. We also look at emotional and mental health wellness that we address a lot through our programming, that it also includes a spiritual sense of wellness as well. And then we have our environmental. If you look at our spaces and how we design our spaces around natural elements and focus on sustainability, we build that a lot into our design and our space. Fourth, we have social wellness, which is really about building a community around our membership and creating better social opportunities to engage and support each other. And then lastly, occupational and intellectual wellness, which we address through personal development, trainings, and benefits to our staff and employees. So those are kind of 5 buckets of dimensions. A lot of them are connected, as we'll discuss today. So with that being said, let's kick off. I'll start with Arnold. In MoFit, we're a workspace, as we know, and why is it important? Why do you think it's important for our members and staff to be, I guess, physically fit? And how does that benefit people's careers?
Thank you, Sam, and I'm humbled to be part of this team to have this discussion. The very bare minimum, as long as you're alive, irrespective of where you are, either you are home or you're working, your body needs to function properly. Functionality from the bare minimum of, are you able to breathe? If you are able to walk, are you able to walk properly? If your heart needs to pump blood, are you able to do that? And for this to happen, we need to activate our body. And the activation now comes from the point of what part of activity are you supposed to take on a daily minimum for you to be able to work properly. Everyone needs to go to work. If, let's say, you wake up in the morning and you're feeling like you have a headache, you won't be able to come to work. So being absent from work because of a headache, maybe you will have done, let's say, some few stretches or few walk, and that headache will have gone. That can be managed through people being physically active. So the first thing is, when you're active, you reduce your days of being absent from work. And that goes to contribute to your productivity. Because when you're present at work, you're able to attain your goals from a point of your work schedule, a point of your work goals. So that is the first thing that I can be able to emphasize. When you're physically fit, your productivity goes up and you are able to reduce the minimum days that you miss work. So it comes to a goal to the personal aspect and a goal to the business that you're engaged in, either privately or you're working for someone. Yes.
Thank you. I think, two points that I really like about increase in productivity, just be able to show up and be functional and be more focused. And then the reality that it's actually a cost to companies and their business if employees are not in good health and they're having to take a lot of sick days, et cetera. And there's actually pretty good stats on the cost to businesses of having a unhealthy or chronically sick workforce.
Sure.
Then thank you. I know we'll dig more into what trainings, etc., what actually that entails beyond base level of fitness activity. I'll move on to Jaini. In terms of food, I know you deal with therapy and food and quite a cross section of health. But nutrition has been a kind of growing focus along health and fitness. Why is it more and more important for us to watch what we eat?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. That is a fantastic question. And I think if I just share my personal journey, I can really show how food is important for our health. Yeah. So I came from a place where I was suffering an autoimmune condition that affects the thyroid, which is called Hashimoto's. In a very stressful corporate law environment, very tired all the time, fatigued. I was exercising, I was moving, but still, I couldn't wake up feeling fresh. And so I went through this 90-day process, which was quite interesting, with changing my relationship with food, making small but very impactful changes to the way I eat. And I kid you not, after 3 months, I was actually shocked. I had so much energy. I was feeling alive. I could wake up feeling fresh, adding hours to my day. And more importantly, my thyroid functions came back to normal. And that was astonishing because, not one doctor did I meet say, hey, what if we look at some lifestyle factors? What if we change the way you eat? They just said, it's an autoimmune condition. That's it. It's there for life, right? But this change in just what I was eating could have such a crazy impact on my overall health was astounding. And that to me really showed how important food is. And, my husband did this journey with me and he used to suffer from chronic asthma since he was a kid. He had been on inhalers. Guess what happens? He doesn't have asthma anymore, right? And so there's this fascinating idea of the way you eat, what you eat, can have an incredible impact on your health. And unfortunately, I think, today we're crowded with so many messages of what is the right food to eat? What should we be eating, right? Like today an egg is good. Tomorrow it's like, oh my God, don't eat an egg. It's bad for you, right? So how do you kind of navigate this field of what should we be eating? And maybe this is something we'll talk a lot more about at the workshop. But evolutionary biology plays a huge role in understanding how your body is designed, how it's made up, and therefore what is it really going to thrive on? And it can be quite individualistic, but changing the way I ate changed everything for me. And working through with clients, watching them, come off diabetes medication, coming off antidepressants, feeling happier, being able to sleep well, all through the process of changing the food has been phenomenal. And I have to say mental clarity. Mental clarity has been a huge one where, sometimes people face brain fog, where you've just got this layer in front of your head and you just can't think clearly. Guess what? There are some foods you eat that are definitely going to enhance that. And there are foods that if you take a break from, you're going to feel that mental clarity coming through. And so food is at the foundation, one of the key pillars towards really feeling optimal health and allowing yourself to thrive in this world that we live in so that you can actually do the things you love to do. And not just for right now, right? This is for your future, what you do and what you eat today. Maybe you're young and you're like, I can eat McDonald's or KFCs, right, in Kenya, or McFries every day, and I'm going to be fine, chapos, mandazis, because you're not feeling the effect right now. But that doesn't mean it's not going to have a knock-on effect in your future. And we're seeing a health epidemic today, right? We have increasing cases of diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure. And medicine's not solving it, right? It might be reducing the symptoms a little bit, but it's not really overcoming it. So how can we go to the root cause? And that really does and can come down to the food part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's inspirational. And I think, both Arnold, I know there's quite a few personal journeys that have led into this profession. And there's a lot to learn for food. We've had a workshop before on foods, and it's different for different people. What they eat in the morning for breakfast, how does that make you feel? And if you're not recording it and assessing that, you won't have the power to really change, right? I like a lot of what you said about the medical side of things. And it's not always diagnosed and prescription for health issues, right?
Yeah.
So moving on to Eric with Bion 8, which is, yes, an insurance company. You deal with a lot of doctors and that traditional medical view. But what about what Jaini said about kind of preventative care? We all often hear about the term preventative care. How would you define it in your profession, and how does Bion 8 provide education to your members on maintaining a healthy lifestyle where they don't need direct kind of traditional medicine?
Thank you so much, Sam, for that question. And it's very interesting listening to both Arnold and Jaini about that certain factors that contribute to the current positioning of healthcare within the Kenyan setup, and more so, it's a direct reflection of the African landscape as well. So if you delve into it, preventative healthcare for us as Bion 8, and by the way, I'm just going to correct you, we are a digital health company. Yeah. We are not an insurance company.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
And when you look at it, at the base of it, preventative healthcare is you trying to flip the script from, illness to health, and rather shortening that particular journey from illness to health as well. So the current setup is you're healthy, but you're slowly transitioning to illness. And that's what Jaini has described. You're eating everything that you feel that you deserve at this particular moment, but it's going to affect you much later as well in life. And how can we intercept? How does the early interception of that look like as well? And for us at Bion 8, what we have done is through the technology that we've developed as a digital health company, the technology offers three parts of the service as well. So you have one, the educative tool. If you think about the average Kenyan, they Google their symptoms, and it's a whole myriad of issues that come up whenever you try and Google your symptoms, or you will go to the web and try to insert your symptoms and get sort of a probable diagnosis. But if you provided the patient with a tool that educates them, taking into consideration where they sit within the African landscape, if it's Kenya, and also taking into consideration the endemic factors that are there within the Kenyan healthcare space, then you have a better educated patient who can take critical steps towards, maintaining their healthcare as well. Secondly, the tool also, our technology also ensures that there is easier connection between doctors and patients as well. One of the key things that has been lacking within the Kenyan healthcare system is there are a lot of bureaucracies and challenges in regards to how you sought healthcare traditionally. Now, if you think about it, you have to leave home, you have to board an Uber, you have to get onto a matatu, or you have to walk to the closest facility. Beyond that, there are certain bureaucracies in the hospital setup that also make the journey much, much longer, the patient journey much, much longer. Now, when you insert technology as a solution in terms of connecting the patient directly to the doctor as well, then you remove and you capture a lot of these particular barriers that are there, and the patients continue to ensure, and the patient has an easier time connecting with the doctor even early on as well. Now, some of the repercussions we've seen from the traditional setup of seeking healthcare is patients naturally just sit with their symptoms. And what Jaini was describing and what Arnold was describing is that because of how crazy it is to seek healthcare in the Kenyan landscape and also in Africa in general, you tend to ignore a headache for 7 days. You tend to ignore a certain pain in your body for even a month, and you only go to the hospital when it's absolutely critical. And that's what has led to the high prevalence rate in regards to chronic diseases and NCDs as well. We're just looking at statistics the other day, and about 78% of all deaths in Kenya currently, and these are statistics from the Ministry of Health, are actually as a direct result of non-communicable diseases, malnutrition, and undernutrition. And when you have a doctor not only treat the symptom, but also look at the patient in a holistic fashion. And that's what we do at Bion 8. You connect the doctor, instead of having a patient who has a headache, who has blurry vision, who has back pain, looked at by 3 different departments in a hospital, rather than these departments come together and look at this patient as one, then you have a very efficient healthcare system that serves to prevent rather than to cure as well. And last but not least, the Kenyan healthcare system is very reactive in nature. We are very curative. As Africans, we are very curative. That's why we had, even in the traditional setup, we had witch doctors, we had medicine men, because we think about curing. Yeah. It's inherent in us to think about curing the disease rather than preventing it as well. But when you insert technology like the one we've developed at Bionit, then where a patient is able to be placed within an ecosystem that provides continuous care, surveillance, as well as navigation, such that the patient does not need to think about anything else about themselves. You have somebody, a team looking at them in a holistic view, then you can actually achieve, and it's viable to achieve preventative healthcare rather than the current model, which is very curative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's extremely exciting to see products like Bionit enter the market and provide that holistic approach through a more accessible channel. And I think we've all touched on the holistic approach to healthcare. Jaini, you touched on quite a bit of your story on how you transitioned from corporate law into this really transformational journey, both on nutrition, and you mentioned mental clarity, which is a big part of rapid transformational therapy. When it comes to our health, we always want rapid transformation, right? What's the quickest? How do I lose 50 pounds? How do I get healthy in a short amount of time? But what makes this approach rapid and transformational in terms of the health, the mental health, the journey that you provide to your clients and members?
Yeah, I think so. There's two things. There's rapid and then there's transformational, right?
Yes.
Because you can have rapid and quick results if, let's say, you go on a quick fix diet and it's a short-term, 2-week kind of thing and you achieve your short-term goal. That can be rapid. But for something to be rapid and transformational, I find we need to go a little bit deeper. And when I say deeper, I mean we have to go to our mind, our beliefs, and our thoughts. Because inevitably, your beliefs and your thoughts shape your reality, right? If you believe I can, then you can. If you believe you can't, then either way you're right. And so rapid transformational therapy really goes down to addressing the root cause of the issue that you're facing. And for me, for example, I actually came across rapid transformational therapy because as I was doing my health coaching, we had this great exchange of services. A client gave me an RTT session and he went through this program called WildFit. And it was incredible because I used to have all these internal fears in the way that I think, and I would always imagine worst case scenarios, so very negative loop thinking. But when you get down to the real root cause of it and you assess, where did this belief come from? Why did I start thinking in this particular way? Then you get to reframe it. You get to rewire it. And when you do that at a subconscious level, your subconscious is 6,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind, right? And that's important because you wouldn't be able to breathe. If you had to always consciously think, okay, breathe in, breathe out, your subconscious is just running that. So when you can address your beliefs from a subconscious level, that's where you get the rapid effect. Within 4 days, by the way, my thought pattern completely changed. I was able to be outside with wild elephants and not feel anxiety. And so you get down to the root cause of what is the belief that I've got here and how did that come about? And when you change the meaning that you gave it, you then get to rewire that belief and start operating from the new aspect, the new belief that you want to be living life as. And that ties in quite well with food because I'll tell you this, you guys, food is one of the hardest things to change, right? It's one of the hardest things to change in life. And that's because it's never about the food. It's about the meaning or the attachment or the association that you've created with that food. And so when you can go and peel the layers behind that, understand that I don't love the chapos. I probably love them because maybe my mom made them for me every single day when I came home from school. And that's why I love chapos. You realize it's not about the chapos. It's about the love that I was seeking. And then today as an adult, you can reassess that belief and be like, is that still a functional belief that I need to have? Or is there a way that I can just reframe that and recognize maybe I should call my mom more often and say hello and reconnect and feel that love rather than eating the chapo for it. So that's where you get the longer lasting change as well, that it can be rapid once you understand the belief and then it sticks and it stays. So it's not just a short-term change.
Yeah, I love that. I think I'm looking around at my Gen Zers, and they still have a lot of love for chapos and chips.
And I definitely had a connection to chips, but I'm free now, and I have the choice to say no to chips.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for that. I think that reframing and just that connection, right? The way you think changes behavior. Your behavior leads to actions, and it's a cycle, right? Yeah. It's a cycle. We had Arnold. You mentioned Jaini. Was it your dad who has asthma or
my husband?
Your husband. Okay.
Had asthma. Yeah.
Okay. Arnold, I think you had a journey that led you to MoFit that had a lot to do with your asthmatic growing up. Could you share a bit more about that and how MoFit became kind of a platform to you to share that experience and that transformational experience that you had?
Yeah, thank you for that. The input from Jenny is very present because the word is transformation, and you'll never arrive. It's a journey, but you have to accept, and that is where she's mentioning the point of yes, it's going to be rapid, but you have to understand and then now walk the journey. And this is the first time I've heard someone saying that food is the hardest thing to build a good habit is what you eat. But when you get it, it becomes easy. And that's the underlying point is I was diagnosed with asthma when I was in class 5. And I lived my life with an inhaler all through. From my doctor, the prescription was have your inhaler every time, or you have amoxicillin, what is it called, a drip, when the worst comes to the worst. And I was always told not to play. So according to the medical angle, activity was a trigger to the attacks. But my life changed when I was training to join the military. And in the military, the first thing is fitness. So here I am with my inhaler and I have to actually do the morning run. And my dad, being the dad, I had to do that. It was a struggle starting because you'll sit down and get your inhaler. But as I kept doing that, and afternoon going to the local gym, I realized I'm not having as much attacks as I used to have when I do my activity. No matter how hard the activity was, my lung capacity was improving. So I asked myself, so if I'm doing this and I'm getting better, I actually quit going to the military and decided to look for a school to understand the relationship between physical exercise or activity and health. That is now when my fitness journey started. And going to Allison Caroline Institute in Muthaiga, it opened the opportunity of me understanding what our biology means from the point of movement. And now that led me to keep exercising. Eventually, from 2012, I stopped buying inhalers. So if you look at my transformation journey, I've been able to live a life that has got a new meaning. I believed myself more now. I have a family. And before, I used to be afraid even to speak to ladies because my self-esteem was low. I didn't believe that I have a purpose in life. And that is now where I believe if everyone will be able to move normally and eat healthy, then we can be able to manage most of the chronic related conditions. Yeah. And coming to the next point, MoFit as a business, I believe everyone should learn on how to live an active lifestyle. So what is in the industry, it's more of you are instructed, do this, do this, do this. Very few people are able to teach. Now MoFit comes in to fill in the gap of teaching. If we teach you on how to do a 10 km walk, you can do that 10 km walk even when Arnold is not there. So that becomes part of your lifestyle. And we realized two things happened. You need to be close to the activity facility or the coach, the program, to where you're staying or where you're working. And this is where KOFISI and every other office place means a lot, where there's an activity section and an eat healthy section, because you have access to it at home and at office. So those 2 points will make it easier for people to make this a lifestyle at the end, instead of having an issue of every end of fast, when you're starting the year, everyone has got New Year's resolutions. And then after Valentine, it's done.
So true.
Yeah. So having access to facilities, to where people stay and where people work, and having coaches to that point makes it easier for Mofit to keep on transforming most of people's lifestyle through activity and eating healthy, like Jaini is advising.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I think that journey is a powerful theme. That journey of wellness and what that can do for you. Just your whole life, right? Your whole personal life, your career life, and your family life is really important. And our goal is to help people rewrite their story and get on that journey as early as possible through just being aware of what's out there, what tools they can use. At KOFISI, we do want to have our own wellness center, but in the meantime, there's a lot we can do. We can have these conversations. Last week we had yoga on our rooftop in this building, and we just bring people in to experience that. On our menu, we are being more innovative about the wellness options, and we'll have Jaini would love to have your input on some of those items as well. One of the themes I love hearing as well is about accessibility, and allowing more and more of the population to experience healthcare services, and not just when they're sick. In Kenya, when I was doing a bit of research, I was shocked to find out, as progressive as we are or aren't, given the current scenario, when it comes to insurance, only 2 to 3% of the population has coverage, right? That's the third lowest in sub-Saharan Africa. I was curious, why has it stayed so low? Eric, you pointed to some of the barriers and challenges we have, but with technology and our environment, why has it stayed so low, and how is Bion 8's model and approach making it more accessible and getting a higher level of coverage across the population?
Yeah, and that's the big question I think the insurance industry keeps, and as critical players and stakeholders also within that particular environment, we keep asking ourselves, why is the penetration low? And by the 2.6% represents everything in regards to insurance, the various sections. If you now even delve much deeper into specific product offerings, all lines of business, for example, like healthcare, it's even much lower. And for us to understand first, insurance is fundamental. It's important for everyone to have insurance. We believe that at Bion 8. I've been preaching that particular gospel in my close to a decade experience working with various insurance companies as well. And the essence of insurance is because we cannot accurately or in totality predict risk or loss, then you need the second best thing that you have there is mitigation. And mitigation is in the form of insurance, whereby you set up a sort of a rainy day fund, for lack of a better word, so that when that risk that you cannot foretell actually does happen, then you have some sort of way or process to get back to where you were before the loss happens. Actually, how we define insurance is pooling of money or pooling of funds together so that, when a risk happens, the policy can take you back to where you were before the loss happened in that manner. Now, if you look at Kenya as a setup, there are various things that contribute to the insurance penetration being low. One is affordability. Two is what we like to call unmatched, models in regards to what the market requires in terms of its needs and what the insurer is providing or the underwriter is providing as well. And last but not least is also the bureaucracy that is there in terms of accessing insurance as well within the Kenyan healthcare space. Now, one of the key things that has continually contributed to this vicious cycle, because there's a current vicious cycle that is happening within insurance, is because the insurer basically offers the policy, the coverage. However, they do require providers to issue the service at the time of the loss or at the time when you fall ill, for example, in terms of insurance. Now, these are two commercial companies, entities. So one is there to protect, to ensure that they don't make losses as much as possible. Then on the flip side, you have providers who are there to try and get as much as possible from the insurance company. And this is and this is concerning because now you as a patient, if we come down to healthcare insurance, where you left, nobody is really thinking about you. Everybody is thinking, I need to get, the insurer is thinking, I need to block this provider from overutilization. Then the provider is thinking, I need to utilize as much on this card as possible as well. And the reason for this, and the reason we are at this particular juncture, even as the insurance sector, is because we do not have direct oversight in regards to the patient journey. You do not understand what goes on in regards to when did the symptoms begin, when did the actual illness happen, what kind of intervention could have happened to reduce the cost in terms of treating or catering for this particular patient, and how does the treatment protocol look like? Yes, we have generic protocols. However, at the end of the day, the doctor is the authority in terms of treatment. So, for example, I'm going to give you an example. Arnold has just told us he had asthma when he was a kid, but you'd be surprised that sometimes asthma can be even treated by inhaling steamed, eucalyptus oil. But if you go to a hospital, they will definitely prescribe an inhaler. They will definitely prescribe, antibiotics as well. Why? Because at the back of their mind, they want to reap as much as possible from the insurance sector. It's only now that we're starting to see a change and actually giving credit to where it is due. A lot of the insurance companies that we work with at Bionet are now seeing Bionet as a tool to enhance this particular experience and create matchable models for the communities that are the societies that or the customer segments that they currently want to serve. It's identifying the needs, getting to understand the consumer even before they become a patient. How old are you? What is your lifestyle like? And we are able to track and gamify some of this data through our application. Our application has a steps counter. I can tell you if you have our app and you have your phone on you all day, we can tell how many steps you take a day. If you utilize our dietetics and nutrition tool within the application, we can tell how you consume your meals, how many calories. And so when I go back to the insurance company, I'm able to showcase to them that this 21-year-old who's walking, 5,000 steps a day will probably need a model that matches this particular criteria. But this particular individual who's walking 300 steps a day because he's a techie who sits down, works on their computer the whole day, then we need to look at a probability of chronic disease management plans for them when they hit 30 or when they hit 35. And that's when we delve into data and technology, and the solution to increase this particular penetration will always be driven by the technology like the one we've developed at Bionet, because then you have a tool that is able to allow the patient to provide data themselves to you as a company that ensures that you match their needs in terms of healthcare insurance. Secondly, you're able to turn this particular data, because a lot of the healthcare system currently in Kenya and also within insurance companies, they sit with what we like to call descriptive data. Descriptive data is, for example, here at KOFISI, you know how many people walk in on a daily basis, how much tea is served, how many cups of coffee are served on a daily basis. But can you tell me a journey about how somebody's, utilization of the facility looks like? And that's what now we call prescriptive data. We turn the descriptive data to prescriptive, so that I can tell you that if this person started off with a headache, and now it's transitioned in May, and it has transitioned to blurry vision, and then it has transitioned to fainting in the middle of the day. What can these 3 particular consultations tell us, and what should the doctor be looking out for as well? And it's that creation of that particular holistic and matching that particular data to the existing insurance models that will ensure that we have matchable models for the market as well. And that's exactly what we do we are doing at Bionate, and that's what has been a barrier and is gonna now, with the current model that we are developing with the insurance companies, that is what exactly is going to increase this particular penetration rate. Beyond other factors like affordability, of course, right. How convenient it is to access an insurance cover, the reduction of the reappropriation of household incomes now as we have now become a middle income society as well. You need to match that particular lifestyle. It's only when you create matchable solutions like the ones I've just described and channel them into a very affordable and also accessible model that now you can continue to bring much more of the consumer segment into the insurance space as well. Yeah.
Amazing. I think that's the only direction that's sustainable, and I think that's what will reduce a lot of friction between the more traditional sides of healthcare and medicine and the lifestyle changes that people need to make. And I love just understanding your consumer before they become a patient.
Yeah,
that's powerful, right?
Yeah.
Your journey, everyone's journey is different, and the more data you could collect upfront can advise. We have the same approach, actually, even in how we address hospitality, looking at our members as they come in, what's their behavior, what are their preferences, and then you can serve them so much better and you can cater to their needs.
Yeah.
I'd love to extend more. I'm going to have to move to a kind of a final kind of closing question for this panel. In terms of members, first of all, I'd like our members and anyone listening to know how to access the services that you guys provide, and then what is the most, say, common health challenges that your members tell you about or face as they access your services? Arnold, do you want to start about, members who come in the gym or when you're at the gym or wherever you are in corporate, what do you find is the most common challenge and how do you try to address it?
One of the most common one from a health perspective is people who've experienced a chronic issue in their family now tend to have the fear. They're not yet there, but now they're like, so-and-so had a stroke. Mm-hmm. So now the fear pushes them to even more stressful level instead of them having to understand what led to the stroke so that they can start to change. I can think, for me, it's purely awareness because you can get sick anytime. But the moment I have a cold, I need to stop taking cold food, then that is better off than waiting until when you have the cold and then you go get medicine. Mm-hmm. So for me, the health challenge is not actually the health problem, rather the awareness of the health problems. Mm-hmm. So if we get people to be aware of the health challenges you're facing more from a chronic area, then members will be able to choose solutions as per the stage. Mm-hmm. Because one of the issues is most people are taking solutions that they don't need at the moment, thinking that that's what they need. For example, you don't need supposed to subscribe to a gym because you feel like I'm adding weight. Having membership is not a solution. Understanding where you're adding weight will be better off than paying membership.
Yeah.
So awareness will be the first thing that can be able to help us solve the issue that will come after. For example, if you're not active enough, or if you are eating unhealthy. Yeah. And that is purely information. like Eric is saying, the moment you have data from a pool of habits, it's easy to start to curate a solution that is channeled to manage whatever factors you're seeing that are going to be negative. Yeah.
And so for MoFit, you don't necessarily have to have a gym or wellness space. The first point of engagement is awareness and educating your staff or your professionals of what health challenges, what are you going through, how do you stay active? And that's a starting point. It's an easy starting point.
Easy starting point. And the only thing that we can be able to do to know that is to do an evaluation.
Yeah.
Evaluation is what most people miss. That's why at our office, even before going to a gym, we don't discuss exercise. We discuss about health. And there are two things. For you to be able to know how healthy or unhealthy you are, you just have to know what is my body composition. And for you to be able to know body composition, we have a machine that gives us data, for example, how much you weigh. But the weight comprises of two factors that we look at, your muscle percentage against your fat percentage.
BMI?
Mostly people will look at BMI, but we go beyond BMI and look at the muscle percentage and the fat, because biologically, the more muscle you have, the healthier and fit you'll be. That is something that is irrespective of how short or tall you are. Those two factors can be able to help you understand what is your problem and you start to solve. If you notice that you have higher fat, you'll know, why am I accumulating more fat? Is it because I'm taking unnecessary or extra calories that I don't use? Why am I having less muscle? Is it because I'm not moving as much? Because muscle is a growing tissue and it can only grow if it is used. So that is where activity comes in. So you have to balance your activity and how you fuel your body.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that. Jaini, how do people come across your programs and what do you find is the most common kind of symptom people face or challenge?
So I love what Arnold said, is awareness is really key. And I think that's the first place I would also really love to start, is with that education and food education. We don't get taught this stuff in school. We don't get taught it later in life of what is real food and what is not real food. And I think that, the most common challenge that I find coming across from clients is just energy, like low energy, just not having that energy to do the things that you love to do. And so that's what we come across the most. And when you're facing low energy, there's probably a lot more going on behind the scenes. It's not just about have a cup of coffee and get going and get the energy, or have that, Monster, whatever those energy drinks are these days. Like, that's not really resolving the problem. It's a little quick fix. So that's the most common thing I come across. But if we can educate people more, create awareness of what are the things you need to do for better health, I think then we're going to be really hitting the mark. And just like what Eric was saying, it's about preventative care, so we don't get to that position. So don't ignore your symptoms. Always seek out and look for health and look for help. But yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram. I'm on mizzmiz_Jaini. And feel free to join my email list as well, where I share fun, random facts about mindful eating.
Yeah. Awesome. And we'll be sure to tag you in our comments for this broadcast. Eric, similar question, and also maybe some of these assessments we will have Bionate at our panel event on August 15th, tentatively. So we can take those kind of baseline assessments to understand what members are facing. But yeah, what common, challenges do you see most of your members face?
So a lot of the current issues or emerging issues that we're seeing within the healthcare sector and even within insurance as well is lifestyle-related diseases, and these are the non-communicable diseases. And then there's also and I call it a little bit alarming social challenges that are upcoming, especially with the consumer of today and tomorrow, which is the Gen Zs and also late millennials as well. And a lot of things have contributed to this, and how we support this is, again, by approaching it from a preventative healthcare aspect. For example, one of the corporates that I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the corporates that we serve, had about 60% of their population complain about back pain. And this particular population was constantly utilizing pain medication from over the counter. And how we approached that, and with the success that we've seen from that, and I love what Jaini was speaking about and what Arnold was speaking about. Don't just treat the symptom itself, look at the patient holistically. And that's what we do. We asked ourselves, why are we doing so many MRIs of the back? Why is the cost so high on ourselves? Because again, we're a business. We have, to ask ourselves, why am I incurring quite a high cost on this particular corporate, specifically for back MRIs? And we probed the lifestyle that this particular company, sort of sustains at their workplace. So it's a tech company. Most people spend their whole time sitting at their computers. They also carry work home because it's sort of in the middle, sort of growth stage as well. It pays well, so guys drive home, also in a seated position. And, you realize that actually 90% of this particular employee's life, day-to-day life, is spent in the sitting position. So it wasn't much of a clinical issue. It was more of a lifestyle issue that could have led to chronic back pain if we did not look at the patient or the employees in a holistic manner as well. So these are some of the things that are coming up, lifestyle related, and also social challenges as well that come with the increased use of social media and also virtual connectivity between one human to the other. In regards to how you can access our application or our services, we are, as I mentioned earlier, we're a digital health company. So we do have an application available on both Google Play and App Store. And this application has 3 features, as I mentioned earlier. One, it has an AI symptoms checker, which you can, with an accuracy rate of about 92% in comparison to actual doctor consultations. So if you insert that you have a headache, it is interactive, and it can lead to a patient education sort of journey whereby we can sort of in some way understand what could be ailing you. However, this is not the actual doctor. This is just a patient education tool. So we do have consultations within the application as well, via video and also text as well, whatever works for the patient. And then last but not least, what we are able to do, we recognize that about 30% of all cases within primary healthcare cannot be handled virtually. So we have created an environment that ensures that a patient can be transitioned from digital to physical when it is absolutely needed as well. And we continue monitoring that particular patient as well. You can access these particular services in three models. So one, we have people who pay for them via M-Pesa or via credit card on the application. Secondly, we do have an internal subscription, an outpatient subscription model that you can subscribe to and pay, and then access services when you require them, when the need arises. And last but not least, yes, if you do have some insurance and more specifically from Jubilee and Britam, yes, you can access the services via your Britam card or Jubilee card, and more are coming as well onto the application, and we'll keep you updated on that. And the insurer will reimburse us for those particular services as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that's very empowering to be able to have those resources without paying some huge premium to start with. Yeah. You can just access, and the information is all on the website. Well, this is incredible, I think, for all, not just our members, for our staff and employees to have this information. As we've said many times, it starts with awareness of what's going on, and then you connect it to your personal journey, you connect it to people around you. Yeah. We look forward to having a bit more robust panel with some of the services available in August that we have lined up. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on this KOFISI Connect panel. We look forward to having you and partnering with you guys to improve everyone's fitness and wellness journey.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Yeah.
All right.